All right, we've started. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the John Campea YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's awesome to be here on this special video. Of course, early this morning, the 8th and final episode of Mandalorian Season 1 dropped, and I thought it would be good if we could all just get together in an open spoiler discussion and talk about the show. Now, in case the title of this video didn't give it away, this is an open spoiler discussion. So if you have not seen the final episode of The Mandalorian or don't want to talk about all the spoilers in The Mandalorian, you might want to click away from this for now until you do see it, because we're going to talk openly about it. And I'm not alone today. I'm joined by, as they call it, my better half. Ann Campea is here with me, who also watched The Mandalorian with me.
Hello, everybody.
I love your shirt. Can you almost even stand up so I can get it out of your, see your, I love this shirt. Snack time. I love that shirt. And when did you show that to me today, right?
Yeah.
You just picked it up today?
Yeah.
I love that shirt. So Ann and I watched Mandalorian at like 3 o'clock this morning.
Yes. Every hour we were waiting for it to.
Yeah. So you were sleeping on the couch while I was waiting for it.
I was technically still waiting for it.
Yes. Well, yes, I suppose in a technical sense, you were waiting with me. Mm-hmm. Waiting meant I was staying awake. Trying to stay awake, and then like every hour or so, like every hour after 11 p.m., because it wasn't really supposed to launch. No, it was actually every hour after 9 p.m.
Yes.
We thought it could launch any time from 9 p.m. Pacific time, which would be midnight on the East Coast, right? So like she would fall asleep on the couch at like 8:30, and then like maybe 9:30, 9:45. Is it on yet? She would stir. No, honey. Then right back to sleep for another hour and a half. Is it on yet? No, honey. Then finally around 3 o'clock in the morning, around 3-ish.
3 o'clock? Really? Is that when it went up?
Or no. It was like 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It was midnight.
Oh, okay.
Midnight. Sorry. Midnight. 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, midnight. But then we watched it, and oh my God, it was worth it. Mm-hmm. It was worth it. It was so good. So, Ann, let's just start with you. What were your general impressions of this 8th and final episode of Season 1 of The Mandalorian?
Oh my God. Okay, where do I start? From last episode, we both talked about how I thought Baby Yoda would have some moment, right? Where he just like goes apeshit.
A big exhibit of power.
Yes, and we got to see that, which was awesome. I think everybody contributed to the episode, which I thought was beautiful. I think everyone had a purpose. Everyone had a part in the story. I think we all knew that at some point we would see Mando's face.
Yeah, we've known that all season.
So we did. I mean, technically the people in the story haven't seen it, right? But we've seen his face. So that was interesting that they actually did that reveal. And then just going back to the last part of the episode, I think that's where we're going to get a lot of comments and feedback on, is seeing the Darksaber in this episode.
I remember we were laying there and, Moff Gideon is in the wreckage. Of course, we all knew he survived the crash.
Right.
Because, hey, they have very good safety features built into X-Wings and TIE fighters. Mm-hmm. Very good safety features. So we see the sparks start to fly. Okay, he's cutting himself out. It's like, some kind of vibroblade. Oh my God, that's the Darksaber! Like we were sitting there on the couch and I'm like, oh, it's the Darksaber! By the way, it didn't look very good. Did you notice that? The visual effect on it looked kind of janky. But whatever.
I think they tried.
They tried.
I think it definitely looks better when it's animated.
Yes.
Like how it looked in Rebels.
Yeah, but I mean, it was good enough that we could look at it and we clearly knew, even when just the tip, ever want to play just the tip? Even when just the tip was coming through the hull, we were like, that's the Darksaber.
Yeah.
And so it couldn't have been too bad because we were able to identify it pretty quick.
Right.
And like we both, and then even before the episode ended, like the camera was still on Moff Gideon standing there with the Darksaber in his hand, and you were already on your iPad going through all the history of the Darksaber. You were like, oh, I
love it so much.
You were just and then even then after then we shut down the TV, we both got a drink, we turned off all the lights downstairs, came up to bed, I went and brushed my teeth, and even she's still laying in bed reading up on all the history of the Darksaber, because she knew what the Darksaber was, but she's like, going through all those things. What was some of the most interesting stuff you discovered?
God, well, I mean, the last time we saw it was Sabine had it, and
Yes.
she had handed it off to Bo-Katan, who was kind of the person she deemed as the leader of the Mandalorians at that point.
She was William Wallace,
But I think I got into this whole rabbit hole of Darksaber kind of led to the history of the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
And how they were at some point two factions, and Darth Maul was leading one of them.
Yes.
The I forgot what they're called again, but there was like one group, Death Watch, that believed that, you would have this leadership through violence, whereas this other group led by
pacifist
was a more pacifist. So it just like kind of went into this whole rabbit hole of, oh, this is how the Darksaber passed through all these people. So now we're left wondering, how the heck does Gideon have the Darksaber?
Well, we know there was the Great Purge of Mandalore, so he clearly probably killed Bo-Katan and probably took it. So now everybody's already like, well, we know how season 2 ends.
Right.
Season 2 ends with the Mandalorian taking hold of the Darksaber and maybe becoming the new whatever. But by the way, it wasn't my favorite episode of the season. It was my second or third favorite episode. I thought it was great, though. I thought it was great. I think the Deborah Chow's second episode is still probably my favorite. And then like last week's episode was so good.
Yeah, I think anything by Deborah Chow I was a fan of, and then to find out Taika Waititi did this one was cool too.
Which you could tell immediately by the way the episode started with just the two speeder troopers talking back and forth. It's like, oh my God, this feels like Taika Waititi is directing.
I think some people were off put by the kind of the banter,
They
but
were,
you know
but
what?
I loved it.
Yeah, we never get to hear them speak and have just a normal conversation.
Yeah. Oh my God, I loved it. Say, any update yet? Stand by. He just killed another officer for interrupting him. I thought that was great.
I know.
I thought it was great.
It doesn't always have to be this grand dialogue, in Star Wars. Like, why don't you have normal conversation?
Because these are just dudes in uniform. I like that. Hey, so what we're going to do here, guys, is for the balance of the show, we're just going to we want to go through it and listen to what you guys have to say, and we'll respond quickly to it. So let's not waste any more time, and let's get right into it. We're going to start with the Wonder One, who wrote in, I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but The Mandalorian is one of my favorite shows on TV right now. I can even forgive the not-so-great episodes in the middle. Also, I'm obsessed with the theme song. Bum, 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 bum. Well, listen, I was just telling Ann, if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, I'm just simply at John Campea. I just put up this tweet of a YouTube video of this classical guitarist who plays all by himself. No loops, nothing like that. Just him and his classical acoustic guitar playing the Mandalorian theme. It will blow your mind. So if you like the music, go check that out there. I didn't even think there were multiple. To me, there was one episode and one episode only that was in the crapper, and that you literally could have taken out of the show and not missed anything. Like every episode of this show, of the 8 episodes, if you took one of the episodes out, you would have been missing something in the finale. But episode 5, that's the one on Tatooine, right? It was 5 on Tatooine. It was either 4 or 5 on Tatooine. I can't remember which one.
4, yeah. 4?
So I can't remember now, but the one on Tatooine, that you literally could have pulled out of the rotation, thrown it away, and you never would have known. You never would have known you missed an episode. That's the one to me that I really could have done without. Every other one I enjoyed.
Unless they bring that girl back.
Right,
Ming-Na's
but they
character.
didn't. Oh, Ming-Na. Well, no, she was dead. She was dead. So unless they brought her back, but she had nothing. They killed her at the end, and there was nothing for her to. So, that was. I mean, I like seeing Ming-Na. Give me any excuse to see Ming-Na, I'll see Ming-Na. But I don't know. It was kind of a waste of an episode.
I agree.
But I liked every other one. Some more than others, but I liked every other one, including this finale. I thought it was great. Okay, what's up here next? Tristan Thorpe writes, it's Friday, and it's a Star Wars day for me. Watch the season finale of Mandalorian, and hot damn, what an episode. I'd also would love a statue of that last shot, of Gideon standing there with the Darksaber. Gonna see Rise of Skywalker tonight, and I'm playing Battlefront 2 while watching your show. Well, that's awesome. I've been playing some Battlefront 2 myself on here. It was a great episode, and it was a great last shot. And, one of the things, Ann, that really stood out to me about it, and I said it on my show this morning, was that when a season finale happens, usually a show either ends it satisfyingly or ends it with a great segue into the next season. And sometimes they don't do either well. Very rarely will a season finale happen where they do both. They bring it to a satisfying conclusion and yet really whet your appetite for the following season. And I thought Mandalorian season 1 did that.
No, I think you're right. I think we get kind of where Mando's going to go.
Yeah.
Right? He's now a father of the child.
Yes, this is the way.
That is the way. And what the heck is going to happen with this Darksaber now? Yeah, I agree. I think they did a great job.
Next season's Mandalorian season 2, 3 Mandos and a baby. So that's what they're going to call it, I think. All right, next one up here is Michael Loreno, who writes, "Hey, John, do you think Disney is happy with Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars trilogy? When it is all said and done, I fear the end result has caused a civil war amongst fans. I know they made billions of dollars, but I fear it may have damaged Star Wars long term." Yes. I don't know what this has to do with Mandalorian, but yes. Because at the end of the day, the Disney shareholders care about, did we make money? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what all studios and every producer and it's a business. It's the movie business. It's not the movie hobby. It's the movie business. So yes, I do. I don't think they're super thrilled with it. But listen, one of the things we do here on the channel is Michael tipped $50. And so what I like to do on the channel here is when somebody tips that large, I like to take that question and address it in its own standalone video. So Michael, I want to go more in depth into this because I believe there's more than just, well, they wanted to make money. There is more depth to it. So we're going to address that in your own standalone video. Keep your eyes open for it over the next couple of days, and we'll put that up on the channel. So thank you for supporting the channel on that level, man, and keep your eyes open for your standalone video. All right. Luke, I am your father writes, didn't mean to post, I am your plumber. Oh gosh. I just saw Luke, I am your, and instantly my mind took over on autopilot. Didn't mean to post a spoiler earlier today. Oh, no problem. I knew that wasn't on purpose. I know that wasn't on purpose. I just thought all the IG-11 stuff was awesome. And how was Anne's reaction when Baby Yoda waved hi back at Carl Weathers? Sorry, I can't think of the character's name. This was her reaction right there. When he's like, do the magic hand thing, and Baby Yoda.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what she said.
Yes.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. And then the big smile. And come on, that was an adorable moment.
God, it's so good.
It was such a good moment. It was perfectly timed.
Yes.
The timing of it was great. It was,
I think they know. They know just enough peppering of cuteness Baby Yoda in the episode.
Yeah, just pepper some cuteness in with all the action going on.
Yes.
And they great balance. And the IG-11 stuff was great too.
Yeah, I was going to say the IG-11 sacrifice was so good.
And you know, some people are saying that's dumb that he would have taken baby. His programming is to protect that baby. Why would he take it in amongst the stormtroopers? Because to IG-11, this is the discussion I had a friend of mine, to properly protect this baby, I've got to get it back to the Mandalorian. I got to get back to Mando. That's protecting the baby, is getting it back in with Mando.
Yeah.
And that was part of his programming. That's why I think he did that. Okay. Mad1306 writes, when they made a big thing about him taking off his helmet, and he did, nice twist with IG-11 seeing his face. Yeah, they were able to work around the whole, well, he can't show his face to anybody.
I'm not human.
I am not a living thing.
A living thing. There it is.
And he took off the helmet. And, you know, you pointed out to me, I didn't even realize as we're watching it, you're like, when they did his flashback with the super battle droid getting ready to kill him and it killed his parents, saying, well, there it is. That's where his hatred of droids comes from. It's like, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And somebody pointed out that it was kind of appropriate. Then you saw him now softening at the end when IG-11 is saying, I have to self-destruct. He's like, no, we need you.
Yeah.
We need you. Now, I don't know if 37 years of trauma and living with that trauma is just undone by one little thing. But do you think maybe do you think maybe now in season 2 we won't see him feel so harshly about droids, or do you think?
I had the same reaction at first, but remember that IG saved his life.
That's
and
true.
I do
Saved
remember my dad hated dogs forever, his whole entire life, traumatized by it. And then we got one dog, the sweetest dog, that changed his mind about how he felt about dogs.
I never knew your dad.
So I feel like it can be undone.
Dogs.
Yes. See? So I feel like it can be undone. So there you go.
All right. I didn't know he loved dogs.
Yeah.
He hated dogs at one point. See, I learned something new every day. All right. Casinema Reviews writes, to me, they saved the best for last. This is my favorite chapter. I hope Lucasfilm gives Taika a full movie. Oh, you, me too, buddy. His style of goofy humor mixed with layered character work and story is perfect for Star Wars. I really needed this after The Rise of Skywalker's depressing ending. I'll tell you what, I kind of had that thought about Taika really needs to direct a Star Wars movie. Not after watching this episode, though. I had that thought after watching Jojo Rabbit. Because that was... Jojo Rabbit to me was a revelation of Taika Waititi. It was showing us he could have that trademark humor and goofiness, but do it with thick, layered character development and deep, heavy issues, all wrapped into one remarkable viewing experience. And I think we saw a little bit of that again. This episode did not feel like Jojo Rabbit, but you could see his ability to take all of those things and put it into one presentation. And I don't know about you, hun, but I would fall out of my seat if they announced tomorrow that, yeah, Kevin Feige is producing a Star Wars movie and he's decided he wants Taika Waititi to direct it. I'm like,
I agree. And do you have a story that you think he would do really well with?
You know
or
what?
It could just be about anything.
Here's the thing. If Taika Waititi can take a story about, World War II Germany and a young kid who has Adolf Hitler as an imaginary friend, if he can take that,
Yes.
then you can give him anything. You can give him any premise and he will be able to take it and run with it. I feel very good about that.
See, like a cantina that needs to be revitalized to make more money.
So basically,
Do this story.
What is that? What's that show on the reality?
Yes.
TV? What's his name?
Bar Rescue.
Bar Rescue. Bar Rescue Star Wars Edition. Cantinas around the galaxy.
Yes.
And he will make it compelling and funny and exciting. He will find a way. Bar Rescue Cantina Edition. I like that. I think we're onto something. All right. Anthony Cullen writes, love the gag of troopers missing their targets. Oh, dude, that was so good. Them sitting there just trying to shoot the can is like, oh my God, that's so great.
I mean, the banter was good, and then we later found out that it was Jason Sudeikis.
Jason, yeah. I can't remember the name of the other guy,
Andy
though.
something, but
yeah, that was which was perfect.
That was
which
good.
Is absolutely perfect. All right. Lee Crow writes, oh my God, I love Taika so much. If the opening scene of this episode is what Taika's Star Wars would be, then sign me up. The conversation, the blasters, and the IG destruction were perfect. And listen, Lee, and by the way, that's a large tip. Thank you, Lee, for supporting the channel on that level. Listen, Lee, it went, and I thought that was just the beginning. That was just the tip of the iceberg. I thought everything from, Moff Gideon became like this great, just so, listen, Giancarlo Esposito, he's got this ability to, the calmer he is, the more terrifying he is.
yeah.
It's like, hello, Jin Jan Flim Flam Shum Chum, whatever Mando's real name was, I can't remember now off the top of my head. Blah, blah, blah. And you, what was Gina Carano's name again? Cara Dune.
Yeah.
Cara Dune, shock trooper of the blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And just as he's so calmly laying it out, you're like, oh, shit. Like, we are screwed. Like, it's just the calmer he gets. And so from that, the escape, the lava boats, IG-88 sacrifice, him getting the jetpack, which is what everybody was waiting for. You know what? You and I didn't talk about this last night. But you know what didn't happen? Boba Fett didn't show up. And I talked on my show this morning, because I told you about this. I talked on my show this morning that months ago, before the first episode of The Mandalorian, I talked to somebody pretty close to the production of Mandalorian, who the one thing they told me, because I didn't want to know anymore, was that Boba Fett does show up in the finale of it. And
how old is Boba Fett supposed to be?
I can't. Older. He's older by this point. But he died at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. This is only supposed to be like 5 years after that. So somehow he crawled. The theory was he crawls out of the Sarlacc pit. And I made a decision, even though I felt pretty good about who was telling me that information. I only told like you, and I told Paul, and I told one or two other people just privately. And I thought about, do I do a story on this? And I decided not to. I decided not to do a video like this. Again, this is going back before Mandalorian debuted. That I can now confirm for you guys that Boba Fett shows up in this. Oh my God, it's a good thing I didn't. Because he doesn't show up in that. So I don't know if he maybe was talking about that Tatooine episode where
it looked like
his boots showing up there at the end. Or, maybe that's what the dude was referring to. I don't know, but I'm sure I'm glad I didn't run a story a few months ago of Boba Fett showing up. I
actually had that thought cross my mind that he was in that war when that he was saved as a kid.
I was half expecting the Mandalorian that saved him might have ended up being Boba Fett.
Right, me too. Who was
but
it?
That wouldn't have been consistent with the Boba Fett character, so I suppose I should have known better. Anyway, Lee, listen, yeah, it started there, but I thought it just kept getting better and better as well, so I was so excited about it. Thanks again for saying that in, Lee. All right, Anthony Cullen writes, over under 20%, we learn about Bo-Katan's fate in Season 2 flashback. You know, I don't think likely, but 20%'s a low number, so even though I don't think it's likely, I'll go over 20. I'll go over 20%. What do you think, honey?
I hope they do. I'm going to go over 20 as well.
Again, I mean, I wouldn't go over 50, but 20 is a low number. I'll take that action. I'll go over 20 on that. Sergio805 writes, love your show. Thank you so much. New subscriber and watch you guys every day. Oh, well, this is a question Sergio clearly sent in for the John Campea Show, not for the Mandalorian thing. So don't worry with Sergio. I'll get around to answering your question tomorrow. We'll answer your question on open mic tomorrow. Okay, Third Man writes, shouldn't Mando and older characters know about the Jedi, considering he was alive during the Clone Wars? Everyone at least knew they existed back then as an ancient order that went into battles. I think there's one thing about, first of all, let's say this. The Star Wars universe has always been massively inconsistent and makes no sense about who knows about Jedi and Sith. Mm-hmm. Because, like, Jedi were just basically the foundational government of the universe. Like, they were like a separate branch from the Senate itself just one generation ago. And yet, throughout the galaxy now, Jedi? What are Jedi? I thought that there were myths. What are you talking about? They were around in your parents' age. But then we get into Rise of Skywalker, and it's like, Sith? Who are you hanging out with that speaks Sith? How do you know about Sith? They've been extinct for a millennia. How do they? So Star Wars has always been very, very inconsistent about that. I will say this, though. Just because he knows about Jedi doesn't mean the first time he sees a magic trick, he's going to jump to a conclusion that, oh, this must be a Jedi. Because remember, he probably doesn't know anything about Yoda, and so he just thinks this is some weird little creature. So I give him a pass on that, Third Man. But did that ever bother you, honey? Like, not only in other Star Wars movies is about, why does everybody seem to think Jedi were a myth? They were around just like 40 years. Like, none of us think that John F. Kennedy was a myth.
Right.
I mean, because we know it's just in my grandparents' day. I mean, that wasn't that long ago.
Right.
But did it bother you in Mandalorian that he didn't instantly put two and two together as soon as he lifted that mud horn off the ground?
No. I don't think it bothered me. No, not at all.
I agree. It didn't bother me either. So that to me was something I can give him a pass on. But it only doesn't bother me because Star Wars has always been so inconsistent with that. So I see where you're coming from on that, Third Man. Okay. Next up, Kenneth Colton writes, hey, Gio, I must apologize for my comment earlier today. Sorry about your no problem. I felt like such an I can't even think of a question on Mandalorian. So for those of you who don't know, so I told this big story at the beginning of my show today that the way I got screwed over and Ann and I didn't get to fly to Canada and I didn't get to see my family this Christmas holidays and I'm very bummed out about it. Well, before I had started the show, Kenneth wrote in, hey, John, hope you're enjoying Canada and having a good time. And I'm like, fuck you, Kenneth. Why don't you just stick the knife in my side? I mean, obviously I knew he sent in the chat beforehand, but I said, thank you for rubbing salt in my wound, Kenneth. No worries, Kenneth. I know you meant well. I know you meant well, brother. All right. Clayton Kierns writes, I'm one of the 86% of Rotten Tomatoes reviewers who love Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. I feel JJ is being crucified for the sins of Lucasfilm. I feel he did the best that he could with what he had. What would you have wanted JJ to do with the movie since all of his plot setups were crushed by Rian Johnson in The Last Jedi? That's not true.
Nope.
That's not true at all. As a matter of fact, Rian Johnson just continued on, for the most part, while he drastically tonally changed his movie from what JJ's was. He completely followed through on most of JJ's stuff. What did JJ set up Luke doing? Well, what did Han Solo say he did? After the betrayal of one of his apprentices, who was also my son, get off my lawn. He blamed himself and just hid himself away. So what did Rian Johnson do? He just followed through with that.
Yep. Same thing with Rey.
J.J. Abrams was on public record. I've read on my show his old interviews regarding The Force Awakens about saying Rey is a nobody. He loves the fact that he has a nobody as his hero, so they can evolve to become somebody on their own. And then Daisy Ridley even confirmed doing The Last Jedi that, yeah, back when I was doing The Force Awakens, J.J. told me that my parents end up not being anybody important. So Rian Johnson, then having in his movie, Your Parents Are Nobodies, he was just following through with what JJ did. He was just being consistent about it. Now, then we can argue about, well, he never gave Luke a big battle moment other than just through a Force vision. Did we like that? Did we not? And those are all good, valid discussions and arguments to have. But on the basic notion of, did Rian Johnson just rip up JJ's plot lines? No. He actually followed through with them. That doesn't mean you have to like what he did with the movie. Not at all. I got some problems with The Last Jedi myself, but what do I want? I don't care. I think too many film fans get into the business of, I'll tell you what they should have done, and they write the movie in their own head, thinking it would be the greatest thing ever, and then when they don't do what they wrote in their head, then they get mad and upset. And I don't play that game. I wanted to see Luke pull out his lightsaber and wreck shop on 40 different stormtroopers. They didn't do it. But they did something different, and I appreciated what they did. So I'm not going to get into what I think they should have done. But listen, Clayton, you bring up a deeper conversation. You bring up a much deeper conversation. And since you also, tip $50, which I appreciate that very much, you are also going to get this answered in its own standalone video where I'll go more in depth into this stuff. And because I think there's a lot there to discuss, because not only did he follow through with things, but he also did radically change the tone of Star Wars, just going from Force Awakens into The Last Jedi. And so that's stuff we're going to talk about. And so that will be addressed in a standalone video, Clayton. Thanks for sending that in, man. All right, let's keep going here. Ben Rayner writes, when I saw Jetpack, I felt a Rocketeer vibe. You're not alone, Ben. You are not alone. This season was so awesome and great story, so fulfilling. Not the best show, but it's up there. And I agree with you. It is not my favorite show of the year. I've got a couple of shows that I would put ahead of it. I would put The Boys ahead of it. I would put Umbrella Academy ahead of it. I think I even like Doom Patrol a little bit more, but it's up there. When it comes to Star Wars, I don't need it to be my favorite show of the year. I just need it to be something that I enjoy. And that's all you got to do to make me really happy. And I enjoyed it. And I thought it was great. And yeah, it worked on that level for me. So I don't know. And does it rank anywhere for you as far as the best shows of the year, or is it just something you appreciated?
Gosh, there's so many shows out this year though. It's up there. I think what it does remind me of is it gives us a tone of Star Wars that you're not typically used to having.
It's true.
And in this kind of binge era, having to wait for the episode to drop every week has been also, actually, I kind of like the fact that you have to wait for the next episode.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, here. Nickett writes, quote, "Let the baby do the magic hand thing."
I know.
So good. It was so good.
So good.
Darklock63 writes, was I the only one screaming at the Jawas to run? Also, love the scene with Mando and the child flying off, mimicking his rescue in the flashback. You know what, Darklock? I didn't even think about that, because in the flashback, the other Mandalorian picks him up as a kid and they fly off.
Oh,
and
right.
I didn't even think about that, Darklock. That was a great imagery. That was great imagery to flash back to his rescue as a kid. Now history's come full circle. He's now rescuing a foundling, although no ordinary foundling, of course, but he's now rescuing a foundling. That was actually quite beautiful.
Now I have to see that again.
Yeah, well, there's our excuse to go back downstairs and watch it again, I suppose. Okay, next one. Third Man 3 writes, the two scout bike troopers bickering got too real world for me. They even said, "Oh my God, have we ever seen or heard God mentioned in Star Wars?" Oh, who cares? Who cares? It was great. That's the thing about me. I love the fact that Taika Waititi embraced the fact. See what I meant? It was freezing in this studio before we started. Now, I'm getting warm. I love the fact that they were like, "Hey, stormtroopers are real dudes. What would they be doing if they had to just sit on their bikes outside of town? What would they be talking about? I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I loved it. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, and it struck me. I didn't even have to think about it to like it. I just liked it off the bat. Like, did you enjoy it? Like, right off the bat? Or was it something you reflect? Like, how do you feel about it now in hindsight?
It was a little off-putting, but I mean, I think the actual conversation made me laugh. So I'm kind of in the middle where it didn't feel quite Star Wars-esque dialogue, but at the same time, I'm glad they went there.
Yeah.
I do feel like in the last movie, in The Rise of Skywalker, they're trying to get there, the humor with the stormtroopers, even with the one word, like,
Cool.
dialogue. Cool. Yeah, like whatever. So
Knights
I think,
of Ren. Cool.
I think they're trying to get there with that, the stormtroopers. So I'm glad that they went more in depth in this episode.
I agree. All right. R. Lee writes, Giancarlo Esposito, I've noticed he's been getting a lot of bad guy roles. Breaking Bad, Mandalorian, and season 2 of The Boys. Easy to see why. Do certain actors just fit certain roles? I think he does. I don't know. Absolutely. There are certain actors that really lend themselves well to being the villain and being the bad guy. They're not always that way, but quite often they are. And listen, the thing about Giancarlo Esposito is he's just, again, the calmer he comes across, the scarier that dude is. And I could see him playing the nice neighbor next door.
Yeah,
and I could
sure.
see him as a world dictator. But your first exposure to him was
Breaking Bad.
probably Breaking Bad as Gustav, right?
Absolutely.
So what did you remember he was even in this when he came on?
No. So I'm watching it and I'm like, why does this guy look familiar, honey? And then you're the one who pointed it out. I'm like, oh my God, that's Los Pollos Hermanos.
And of course, the last time we saw him, half his face was missing.
Yes.
So there you go. What is he? What did you just call him again? Los
Pollos Hermanos.
Is
Isn't that the name of the restaurant?
To the restaurant? Los Pollos Hermanos. All right. Casinema Reviews writes, he's also Lex Luthor on the Harley Quinn show. Oh, does he do the voice of Lex Luthor on that new Harley Quinn show? I haven't watched a single second of that Harley Quinn show, but I didn't realize he was the voice of Lex Luthor. He's got the right voice, though. He's totally got the right voice. Double Crit writes, watching Mandalorian has made me realize how awesome a live-action Metroid TV series could be. The main character, Samus Aran, is a badass intergalactic bounty hunter who comes across a helpless creature and kind of becomes its mommy. Sound familiar? Here's the thing. Just because something works doesn't mean something else will work. It's not about, well, it worked for the Mandalorian, therefore it will work with something else. No, it won't. At least not necessarily. You can make a movie about plastic building blocks that has no story foundation, i.e. the Lego movie, and if you execute certain ways, anything can be great. A Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone movie, as stupid as it sounds, if you execute it right, it could be great. Any premise can be made to work if executed right. Just because one movie that's great does a certain premise doesn't mean another thing with a similar premise will automatically translate or work. So I'm not familiar. I mean, I know what Metroid is. I know nothing about the story of Metroid, though, myself. So I can't really comment on that. But I wouldn't just assume that just because one worked, then another one will automatically work too. It also means that if one thing doesn't work, doesn't automatically mean something similar won't work either. So, I mean, it's kind of a double-sided coin there. All right. Nate Pazientino writes, Scout Troopers' terrible aim was classic Taika. It was. I love that scene. I love them doing that. I just thought it was good. I understand some people had some problems with it, but I thought it was a wonderful... You got to be in the Star Wars family to get it, you know? And I thought that was a great moment for the Star Wars family. All right, anonymous viewer writes in, Scout Troopers bullshitting with each other was great. Do you think Moff Gideon needs the child's powers to heal a loved one or to merge the power into himself? Well, I think, honey, if you remember back to, I believe it's episode 2.
Yeah.
When Mando is about to break in to... why am I freezing on the one of the great directors?
Oh, Werner.
Werner Herzog, thank you.
Yep.
When he's about to break into Werner Herzog's compound, he first goes through his scope and listens in. He can see Werner Herzog's heat signature and the scientist beside him. And Werner Herzog's dialogue is, just extract the material and be done with it. Extract the material. I hope he's not referring to midi-chlorians. But whatever it is, whether it's midi-chlorians or not, to me that made it clear that what he wants Baby Yoda for is to extract something out of him.
Yeah.
whether it's Midi-chlorians or whether it's something else about his DNA or his genetics, whatever it is, but there's something in that child that the former Empire wants. So that's how I got it. Or do you think the show maybe suggested other things that Giancarlo wants out of it?
I honestly have no idea at all. I think both those theories are very valid. Any of those could be true. So I don't know. I don't know.
All right. My thoughts, reviews writes, with the Darksaber here, does that mean Bo-Katan is dead? I mean, it doesn't automatically mean it.
Right. Suggests.
But it's pretty much implied, right? Because they keep talking, like, if there was the Great Purge of Mandalore and the big, iconic, symbolic weapon of the people is now in possession of a former Moff.
Unless she's in hiding. You know, she could have survived and is in hiding something
Could have been.
That.
Could have been. But I'm guessing they're going to tell the tale about how she died and how he killed her to get it. I'm assuming she's dead. What do you think the chances are she's alive? How big of a chance do you think there is she's alive?
15%?
15? Yeah, so low.
Yeah.
I might go even lower. I think I might maybe 7. I'll go as high as 7%.
Okay.
That maybe she's, but either way, it's pretty unlikely she's probably alive. Kevin writes, exploring and search for Jedi for season 2 sounds like fun. I don't think so. I really don't think they're going to bring Jedi into it.
No, I hope they don't. I think they stick to the Mandalore.
Yeah, the Mandalore. I like that.
Yeah, and I think there's enough. I don't think they need to. I
agree. I don't think they need to go in that direction. But hey, I wouldn't put money against it either, Kevin. I wouldn't put money against it. Josh Bing writes, Mandalorian culture is fascinating, and I'm glad this show really dug deep into it. Star Wars does some of its best work when it digs into lore.
There it is.
True. But at the same time, it's a little contradictory, right? So, for instance, I mean, it could depend clan by clan, but, you know, I go back and watch some Rebels, and remember, a bunch of Rebels focused around Mandalorian culture. They were always walking around without their helmets on. It's like, oh, hey, Bob. Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
How's your helmet doing? Oh, it's doing pretty good. How's your helmet doing? Oh, it's great. And that seemed to be for every clan. So I mean, it is interesting, but it also feels a little contradictory in nature.
Okay, I see your point.
I'm just saying. So I'm sure Jon Favreau's got something in mind to rectify that. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it is interesting when they go deeper into the lore. Grand Moff Kevin, I love that name, writes, spoiler discussion. The only thing more menacing than Giancarlo Esposito is Giancarlo Esposito with a Darksaber. That man's mannerism and way of speech reminds me of Tark. It's true in the way that he commands fear and respect. It's such a good observation, Kevin, because when you think about Tarkin, I mean, my 12-year-old nephew can take him in a fight, it looks like. He is a frail, skinny little man that if you blow on him, he looks like you blow away in the wind. But the moment he speaks, you will tremble in fear. And I'll tell you what, Kevin, I didn't think of that comparison. Gideon to Tark, but you're right. As a Moff, he just has that commanding presence.
Yeah, it was very good casting with him.
Yeah. Now, if you had told me at the beginning of the season that at some point in the season they're just going to kill Werner Herzog's character and replace him with a new head bad guy, I would have gone, ooh, bad mistake. Because what can top Werner Herzog? Nothing can top that. That's the stupidest thing. Okay, Giancarlo Esposito is Moff Gideon. All right. Because if you had told me that beforehand, I never would have thought that would have worked. But here we are, Kevin, and it worked. And that's a good comparison to Tarkin. All right, Mr. 47 writes, I like how the armor tells Mando the jetpack, won't listen to your commands, and then it does later. LOL. But great episode. Can't wait for 2. I thought of that too. Like she's going there, it's going to take you a lot of time. You're not going to be able to fly it right away, blah, blah, blah. Instantly puts it on, goes to a TIE fighter, then flies away with Baby Yoda. You could explain that, though, Han, with by saying it just reinforces what a talented Mandalorian he is. I mean, it could that he's so naturally adept to the way of the Mandalore that, yeah, I can slap this on my back right now, no problem, never done it. Although, remember, he did say he trained in it when he was younger.
Yeah.
She asked me, have you ever trained this? He goes, yep. When I was younger, I did train it. So it's not like it was his first time jumping on it, right? But I don't know.
It's like we're trying to ride a bike again. And he did have issues landing with it. So
that's true.
It's not like he was perfect all the way through.
But he felt comfortable enough to fly with a baby.
Hey.
So maybe that wasn't the best choice. Mr. 47 also writes, I wish IG-11 could have stayed as a permanent addition. I agree, especially with Taika Waititi during the voice. I mean, but it was great for the story. Remember, the stories aren't there to serve the characters. The characters are there to serve the story, and IG-11 served the story, and he went out the best way possible. Jacob Silvers writes, I have a theory. Mando will kill Gideon and take the Darksaber for himself and the Mandalorian people and creates a rebellion to defeat the remnants of the Empire. I mean, I was saying a little bit earlier, Jacob, myself, that I think that's the path of season 2. Clearly, Gideon is going to be the remaining antagonist, understanding what it is that Gideon has of the Mandalorian people. Mando's going to go and get it back. I don't know. I remember he doesn't need to lead a rebellion against the remnants of the Empire. He just needs to go to the New Republic and report them. I mean, that's all he's really got to do.
Right.
So I don't know. So I'm with you up to a point, but I don't know that but maybe there does become a war between the remnants of the Empire and the remnants of the Mandalorians. I mean, I don't know. How do you think they're going to work that out?
God, I have no idea. I told you I haven't thought about this. I think any theory I'm like, yep, that's definitely a valid possibility. I think I just need some more thought around this because I don't know. I don't know if he would be the type of personality to want to lead a rebellion.
Or to lead at all. He seems so isolated, such a loner.
Exactly.
Max Sutton writes, I thought Chapter 5 was the worst episode of Season 1. The acting, in my opinion, was horrible. Again, I can't quite remember what Episode 5 was, so Hun, maybe you should just look it up.
Yeah, because there's 2 episodes I didn't care for.
I think I thought, now, Episode 5 is either the Tatooine episode or it's the breaking the Twi'lek out of prison episode.
I didn't care for either of those.
I know. I like the breaking the Twi'lek out of prison one. I like that one because you got the directors and the X-Wing and stuff like that. To me, the only one that I thought was bad was the Tatooine episode. That's the one that I thought was no good.
So number 5 is the one with the rookie bounty hunter.
So that's the Tatooine one. Okay.
Yeah.
So I agree. I did not like that. But I mean, I didn't dislike it because of bad acting. I disliked it because it had absolutely no relevance to anything. We had no character development. We had no evolution of the relationship between Mando and the baby or anybody else. There was no long-lasting effect to the show. Literally, you could watch this show. You could tell somebody brand new, watch Mandalorian. Just don't watch episode 5.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have missed a thing. Not a thing. That episode could literally disappear into thin air and it has no impact. And so that's why I didn't like it, Max. Anyway, Jeff Ning writes, 2 thoughts come to mind. Either Gideon led the purge, probably, or Gideon is the mole amongst the Mandalorians during the purge. I don't know if he can be the mole because Mando said himself that he was an administrator, that Gideon was an administrator at the time.
Yeah.
An Imperial administrator. So it's not like he wasn't one of the Mandalorians in a secret mole.
No.
Like everybody knew he was Empire,
He knew
right?
what his role was.
Yeah, everybody knew what he was.
Yeah.
So, I do not doubt for a second, Jeff, that him leading the purge could very well be it. Because, I mean, he ends up with the Darksaber and he ends up a Moff. So that would make sense, Jeff. That would totally make sense. I agree with you. All right. Anthony R. writes, with Dave Filoni involved, you know it wouldn't be long before someone in the show had force powers and a lightsaber. Well, I mean, I don't know if the Darksaber is technically a lightsaber.
Yeah, it's so ingrained in Mandalorian, that I didn't see it as a lightsaber when I first saw it.
I mean, it's sometimes defined as a unique type of lightsaber in a way. I mean, I'm not really sure, but I don't know if that was Dave Filoni's doing or if that was, look, when Jon Favreau decided this is my story, a lone gunfighter comes across a child and it happens to be the same species Yoda and has force powers. That's a basic principle. So I don't know if Dave Filoni had anything to do with that. But I don't know. I don't know, Anthony, but I do know I liked it. I do know I liked it. All right, Anthony also writes, do you think Gideon wants a child so that Doctor can extract the midi-chlorians and transfer the Force to him? He wants to be the next Vader. See, that went through my head. But in the words of Han Solo, that's not how the Force works. You don't just do a blood transfusion. And there, ooh, I'm a Jedi. Well, again, one of the big idiot things about the prequels, one of the many idiot things about the prequels, the midi-chlorians, it's such a fucking ridiculous thing. There's a reason nobody in Star Wars has ever mentioned them again. But if, oh my God, if I will lose all my enthusiasm, if Jon Favreau decides, yes, we've discovered that if you just stick a needle in your arm and take out some midi-chlorians and put them into somebody else, now you have the Force too. Like the Force is an STD. You know? Oh, you had sex with that girl? You have the Force now.
Force crack.
Or it's cracked. I mean, to me, that would be so dumb. But listen, he clearly wants something, Anthony. He wants to extract something. And maybe it's midi-chlorians. If it is midi-chlorians, which, my God, why would you ever bring those up again? But if you did need to make a midi-chlorians, it better be for something other than, and I'll just stick them in my foot, and now I'm a Jedi and have Force powers. They will have shit over everything about what the Force is, and all. It would completely crap on everything. They will lose me real fast.
Eesh.
They will lose me real fast. Like, you want them harvesting midi-chlorians for something? Fine, come up with something creative that they need. But if it's just if we just take some midi-chlorians out and put them in something put it into that frog. Now that frog is a Jedi frog. Whee! Is that how Baby Yoda got his powers? He ate a midi-chlorian frog? And now, woo! So dumb, baby. So dumb. All right, Jonathan... This is my buddy, Jonathan Green. Follow Ann Cosplays on Instagram. There you go, Ann. Soul gave your new Instagram.
Aww, so sweet.
I knew you made all your pictures, but have you actually launched the new Instagram?
I have. I posted 2 photos on Ann Cosplays.
And that's, so just bring up Soul as Ann Cosplays.
Yes, on
there
Instagram.
You go. Follow.
Thank you, sir.
Soul had to give me reason I say Soul, that's our nickname for Jonathan Green is Soul. So Soul gave me $5 to plug your Instagram.
That's so sweet.
That's so sweet. But you can give me $5 anytime you want, Jonathan. All right. Jared McBride writes, the Scout Trooper, terrible aim, was classic, and I can't believe we have to wait till next fall to see season 2. And I love Baby Yoda. I tell you what, though, Jared, that is one of the things, too, about why I have come to learn to prefer week-by-week releases than I used to prefer all-at-once season drops.
Yeah.
But I realized then you can't celebrate it as a fandom.
No.
Because everybody's on a different episode. Nobody's at the same place.
Yes.
It drops and everybody talks about it for 5 days and then nobody talks about it again.
It's dead quiet.
Mandalorian comes out 2 months now. We've had it. And every week a new episode has got us all excited. We all get to talk. We're all at the same place and we get to go along on the journey together. And I have just come to find that it's not just that I think it's the smarter business decision. I find I actually prefer it this way.
Yeah, me too. I do too. I mean, it's the Game of Thrones thing too. You know, every week we're like, oh, next episode, you know, we would gather around and you're right. It keeps everybody at the same point in the story. Nobody knows more than anybody else. You could talk about it for that moment. And I would just highlight that they successfully figured out how a group of people want to protect this child. We all feel some sense of like that this child is now ours as well. I don't know how they were able to do that, but everybody feels like this child is theirs. And
it's just this random eclectic group of characters that the most important thing in their world became protecting this child.
Yes, and now
and
the audience
don't
too.
Even know why.
Yes.
Just protect the child.
Yes.
I loved it. I loved it. Okay, Warren Wright writes, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Ann and John Campea. Thank you so much, Warren. We appreciate it and I hope you had a wonderful holiday as well, even though we were stuck in Los Angeles and didn't get to see my family. No. I'm happy we got to go hang out with your family first. We were then just supposed to go and see my family after that, and it never happened. Thank you so much, Swoop Airlines. Anyway, Warren Wright. Oh, no, that was Warren Wright. Anthony R. writes, I've learned by now, never say never. What are the chances Mando running into Ahsoka or Luke? With Filoni, he can't resist cameos.
Yeah.
Luke, no, I don't see that happening.
Maybe.
But I am also convinced that Dave Filoni goes to bed each night, touching himself, thinking about Ahsoka Tano. Dave Filoni is, and I don't like that character. I don't like the character. But I love Dave Filoni. Don't get me wrong. But he goes to bed every night and touches himself at least once thinking of Ahsoka Tano. I mean, they shouldn't have her. She has no place in the story, I believe. But I would not bet against it, Anthony. Not with Dave Filoni there. That dude's got such a raging hard on for that character.
Anyone else from Rebels, I would take.
You know what? I don't even think you should bring anybody from any animated series in. I think you should keep Mandalorian separate.
But if the Mandalore is the connection point between the two shows, why not tap into it a little bit?
Millions of other Mandalorians.
I mean, but Bo-Katan is in Rebels.
I know, but they didn't bring her into it.
Yeah.
So that's different. You want to reference the Empire, reference the New Republic, reference Shock Troopers. That's all cool, but I just kind of like the idea of a Star Wars story that doesn't feel like it has to involve everything else we already know. I kind of like, that's the thing I love about Mandalorian, or one of the things I love about Mandalorian, is that it's truly Star Wars stepping outside of just things we already knew and telling a new story with new characters in this Star Wars universe. Mm-hmm. And you want to reference some things, I'm okay with that. But,
no, I get your point, because then they'll never be able to really expand the universe, because it still feels so contained when it's all still interconnected.
They keep making the Star Wars universe smaller and smaller and smaller. So by having a universe with thousands of worlds, yet we keep tripping over characters we already know.
Yeah.
This is the first time they haven't done that, and I kind of dig that. But I don't know. But again, Anthony, I wouldn't put money against it, brother. As long as Dave Filoni's involved, I would not put money against that, because it very well could. All right, Rob Kirkland writes, hey, John and Ann, happy holidays. Do you think Moff Gideon's ultimate target might be Luke? Ooh. I'm going to say no. He wants something. It's clearly something that's in the Baby Yoda character.
Yeah.
I don't think he's after Luke.
Right. I agree. I don't think so either. Why? It made you think?
Well, I mean, listen, clearly in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, and forgive me, look, if you're watching Mandalorian so much that you're part of a spoiler discussion, you've probably seen The Rise of Skywalker already, so I'm about to drop a Rise of Skywalker spoiler. Plug your ears right now if you're about to, okay? Fine. If General Price knew the Emperor was still around, there could be other former Imperials that maybe know the Emperor is still around. And maybe he's given one of them a job to do. I mean, look, I don't want them to do that. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're going to do that. But I wouldn't bet $1,000 against it. I wouldn't bet $1,000 for it either. I don't think that's what they're doing. But nah. But again, I wouldn't bet the house on it. I wouldn't bet the house on it. Jedi Buckaroo writes, who laughed at come on baby, do magic hands?
Yes.
I mean we all did. It was, first of all, it was a great line to give him. But then him waving like the queen. It was so adorable, dude. All right, Mr. Hero 17 writes, Nurse and Protect score from episode 8, perfect.
Yeah.
It was. And listen, the dude who did the music for it, who also did the music for Creed and
yeah, Ludwig something. So good.
So good. And again, I encourage everybody, go to my Twitter, see my top tweet that I have right there of that guy playing the theme to Mandalorian. Oh, so good. Okay. That Norwegian guy writes, wanted to clarify my comment yesterday. I still like Star Wars, but episode 9 just fell apart for me on the third viewing. Mandalorian, on the other hand, I want season 2 and I want it now. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, listen, Mandalorian, let's not pretend that Mandalorian didn't have some weak spots. It did. But overall, by the end of the day, when you take back and say all 8 episodes as one cohesive package, I am as a Star Wars fan, I am super thrilled with it. Mm-hmm. I'm really, really happy with it. And when Jon Favreau said, this is a Western, this is a lone gunman in the wild outskirts, I thought, sure, there'll be a little hint of Western to it. But Favreau went full balls deep on the whole Western motif. I mean, we were reminded every episode, this is a Western, this is a Western. And I ate it up.
Yeah, me too.
I love that part about it. Like from music to the long, slow walking shots, and the cinematography was shot like an old Western, and the motifs. You know, the one episode with Gina Carano, the first one with Gina Carano, it was basically, you know, Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven and Three Amigos and all. They just kept doing these great Western motifs, and I love that about it.
Agreed.
I totally love that about it. Thanks for that, Norwegian guy. All right, Jedi Johnson writes, are we going to Yoda Planet next season? I don't think so.
Yoda Planet?
Yoda Planet.
Is it a baby Yoda planet?
Probably not. There'll probably be other baby Yodas there. By the way, Ann and I went to like a collectible and comic shop tonight. And like a lot of these places, they have a big rack on the wall with posters. Like the first 15 posters are all various Baby Yoda posters. It's everywhere now. Like everywhere you turn, there's Baby Yoda. Even when we walked in, remember they had that big one on the wall with Baby Yoda you pointed out to me? Everything is Baby Yoda. All over the place, Baby Yoda. All right, Joe Byram writes, missed opportunity. When IG-11 exits the tunnel, a stormtrooper should have said, surrender. We have the high ground. Here's the thing. That would have been funny, and it would have been totally a Taika Waititi thing to do. But that wasn't the moment for that. Taika Waititi knows how to blend when it's the right time to be yuck funny, and when it's not. That moment we needed to soak in the sacrifice of IG-11 and the impact that sacrifice was making on Mando. So would I have giggled and smirked for a minute if he said, give it up, droid, we have the high ground? Yeah, for those of us who remember, who know how ridiculous that line is, for a moment. But I think it's good that they didn't. And honestly, I think could have ruined a really great scene.
Yeah.
So I don't, how do you feel about that?
No, I agree. I'm glad there was no. I'm glad there was no dialogue except for him just seeing him kind of drown in the lava.
Yeah, a little Terminator-ish.
Yes,
right?
that's exactly what I thought about.
I was half expecting to hear the music from Terminator 2 in there. All right, let's see here. That Norwegian guy, and guys, we're almost out of time here, so we're just going to fly through the next bunch of ones here. That Norwegian guy writes, Sabine Wren has to make an appearance now. I feel it would be criminal to leave her out of the story after the Darksaber is introduced. Given that she was responsible for giving it to Bo-Katan, I disagree. I 100% disagree. Sabine Wren, first of all, has nothing to do with live action stuff. Keep her in the animated world as far as I'm concerned. I love the Sabine Wren character. I do, but that's an animated character that like 1% of Star Wars fans actually know anything about. Keep her out of it. And in the long storied history of the Darksaber, Sabine Wren was in possession of it for a heartbeat. Like Sabine Wren had the Darksaber for a briefest of moments. The briefest of moments. The Darksaber is not about Sabine Wren. And Sabine Wren is not about the Darksaber. It was a tiny part. She played a tiny part in her story, and it played a small part in hers. I don't see any reason to bring her in, and I think it would actually be counterproductive to bring her in because of how I feel about keeping all that other stuff separate. And remember, you can say that it feels like a mess. Well, that's because you've watched Rebels and I've watched Rebels. Maybe 1% of Star Wars fans have watched Rebels. Maybe 1% of people who go to the movies, who have the $500 million worth of people who've gone to the movie to see The Rise of Skywalker already, have actually watched Rebels. So I got to disagree on that. I don't think so. What do you think? Do you think bringing Sabine Wren in right now is maybe a good thing for them to do?
Selfishly, I would bring in any Rebels character because I loved that
show
so
Rebels
much.
Is great.
So much. But I think the only person that makes sense is Bo-Katan. I think that's the person who last had it. I think that's the only character that they should perhaps do some sort of backstory so that we figure out how Gideon got it.
Right.
But I don't think they need to go as far back as Sabine because we know Sabine handed it off to Bo. So what would be the point of bringing her in at this point?
Yeah, it doesn't really, it's not necessary. It actually doesn't even make sense. All right. Jesus Vega writes, hey, John, finally caught your show live. Awesome. I couldn't stop laughing at how the trooper punched Baby Yoda with no hesitation. Love your show. And I've got a theory about that.
What?
Okay, so here's my theory about that. It's a John Wickism. You see, when they made John Wick, they knew for the audience to get on board with the hero doing such unspeakable violence, and death and murder and carnage. They had to give the audience a rock solid motivation for agreeing with him doing it. How do you do that? Show the bad guys killing his puppy. Because as soon as they showed the bad guys killing his puppy, nuns in the audience were going, that fucker's gotta die. There were nuns in the audience saying that. And I think Taika Waititi was, IG-88 is about to do some horrible violence, like the boom, boom, boom. Let's make the audience feel like they really got it coming. Punches baby Yoda. Oh, this son of a bitch has got to go. Yes, multiple times. So there are little old ladies all across America who are going, oh, this son of a bitch has got to die. and now IG-88 comes along and he does these horrible things.
The martyr.
And you felt no sympathy for these guys.
Yeah.
You felt no sympathy for these guys when they did that. But I don't know. Did you maybe think that maybe baby Yoda was going to do something to them?
Yes, I was half expecting it, but you know what? It was just hard to watch. You're right. It was that. It was like, why are you hitting the child multiple times? That's all they need to do.
To keep themselves out of trouble, we never actually saw him punch a child because it's never like the baby Yoda was out of the bag.
Right.
And we saw the guy punching the baby in the face. I think that would have been a bit much. So he was still doing the same thing, but we didn't visually see it. The bag was still closed. Boom, boom, boom. But then IG-88 came along and rectified the situation. Or I keep saying IG-88. Sorry, IG-11 came along and rectified the situation. Greg Hood writes, Tatooine episode, droid, staff, and bartender. I guess they do serve their kind now. I mean, that was the one I would say modestly interesting thing was we went from your droids, we don't serve their kind here, to there's a droid bartender now and it's empty. And all that kind of stuff. That was the one maybe moment that gives you a moment that you could have an interesting conversation, Greg. So I think you're onto something there. Anthony R writes, if Boba is alive, he would be 41 by now, not old. I guess that time makes sense.
Yeah.
And again, it is most likely that was him at the end of episode 5. It is probably the boots at the end because it is on Tatooine. It is probably most likely setting up this. So do we see him in season 2?
Or
Probably.
Forever an Easter egg. I don't know.
Or just forever an Easter egg. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Ancient Jedi writes, episode 9 confirmed to me JJ doesn't get the core of Star Wars. I disagree. I think that's a radical oversimplification and a misunderstanding of what it was he was trying to do with The Rise of Skywalker. Because JJ understands Star Wars probably better than you do, and probably better than I do. But so he gets it. He just didn't make a movie that I like. That's all. Warren Wright writes, I can't do another super chat or my wife will get mad at me. The child as a Mandalorian and Mando getting his signet. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and by the way, nobody has brought up or talked about
the badass woman.
The badass woman.
Yeah.
Like she didn't even want to shoot those suckers. She's like, nah, shooting them be too easy. I want to get a couple of lug wrenches here. Yes. And I'm going to beat the shit out of these guys when they walk in this room. And the one shot when she like busted the Stormtrooper's entire jaw off and stuff like that.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That was one of the best moments of that episode. It's like, oh yeah, I guess she's the one all the other Mandalorians answer to for a reason. And it ain't because she's good at making armor.
No, I know.
She whipped their asses.
Did she survive? I feel like she did, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of it, there was just nothing but dead stormtroopers around him.
Yeah, I saw it seen on her Twitter that the woman who plays her saying her husband called her the Santa Claus of the episode because she handed Mando all this new loot.
Oh, yeah, here you go. Here's new charges. Here's all the stuff you need to get away, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
I want to see her back.
I agree. I want to know more about that character.
Yeah, I want to see her back. Let's see here. Ballooned Raccoon writes, hey, John, what did you think of Mando flying away with Baby Yoda at the end, referencing the same thing that happened to Mando when he was a kid? Again, somebody else brought that up a little bit earlier. I didn't even think about it at the time, but now that you guys bring it up, I thought that was a great moment. I really do. And it makes me want to go back. Anne was mentioning it earlier. It makes me want to go back and watch the episode again to really appreciate it because it is the circle of life. It's now the child who was rescued and made a Mandalore as a foundling is now rescuing another foundling and flying them away out of danger like he was. And there's something beautiful in that imagery. And I like that a lot. So yeah, I was totally down with that balloon. Totally down with that. Jesse writes, did you catch Jason Sudeikis' Bike Scout #1? Ann and I had no idea who it was.
We knew the voices were familiar though.
Oh, well, you especially, you're like,
Yeah.
son of a bitch, I know that voice. I know, like, it was eating at you as you were watching that.
I had just watched Booksmart
The same day with Jason
So I've been
Sudeikis
hearing
in
the
it.
voice all day. I couldn't put it together that it was the same person though.
Yeah, so I didn't know until afterwards. Somebody on the show mentioned it to me that was Jason Sudeikis. I'm like, really? Then that makes total sense now. Koa1708 writes, I still don't understand how the Jedi became myth and legend so fast in the latest trilogy and even in The Mandalorian. I mean, no one remembers them? It hasn't been that long. No, it hasn't been that long. And again, we were talking about this issue already a little bit earlier. I know who John F. Kennedy was. He was dead before I was born. I knew who he was. You know why? Because we got the internet and we got history books and we all knew it. How everybody just pretended like the Jedi didn't exist just a couple of decades later is ridiculous. But again, the highlight to me is then you go into the Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker, but everybody knows who the Sith is. Oh, everybody knows Sith. And they've been gone for, as they talked about in the prequels, the Sith have been extinct for a millennia. Yeah, but everybody knows who they are. But nobody remembers the Jedi. I mean, it's just, it's an inconsistency in Star Wars that they've got to try to rectify, I think. Jude Auditor writes, hi, John and Ann. Favorite main character out of the two, Mando or Geralt of Rivia? Well, Ann is only one episode in.
Yes, so I'm going to say Mando.
I'm going to go Geralt.
I don't have enough context to choose the other character yet.
I'm not sure which show I prefer. I like both of these shows very much. But there's just more to Geralt of Rivia. There's just more to him.
Right.
Mando had very few lines. A number of the episodes, it wasn't even Pedro Pascal in the armor walking around. There's a lot more to this character. So I'm going to go him over Mando. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm saying Witcher over The Mandalorian. The two are very, very close. Two terrific shows that I was so happy to discover The Witcher just as Mandalorian was ending. I mean, it's... but again, I wish we could have watched Witcher week after week. Because then we could have had discussions every single week about Witcher and really gotten into it and gone week to week with each other. But it all dropped at once and had to watch it all once, and now it's done. And a week from now, no one's going to be talking about The Witcher anymore, which sucks. Totally sucks. All right. Film Guy writes, with Dave Filoni involved, is this how we see the continuation of Ahsoka/Ezra's story with the search for the Jedi and the Mandalorian? No, I don't think Jon Favreau would allow it. I don't think, like, that's Filoni's own thing in his cartoon world. That is not for live action. Most people who watch Mandalorian did not watch Rebels, so I don't see there being any connection there. Hardcore Curtsy writes, I like that name. Sorry about your bad day. Thank you, Hardcore. I appreciate that. Check out the new Yoda song from Bad Lip Reading about his awesome stick. Might cheer you up a bit. I'm glad they gave Gus the lightsaber, the Darksaber at any rate. I think Walter White would be a disaster with one. Kisses, hugs, and belly rubs, sir and madam. Well, I mean, here's the thing. First of all, the old Yoda bad lip syncing. Seagulls.
Oh, yeah.
Hanging on my head. No fun.
Yeah.
Seagulls. Watch it now. I love that. But I saw the new one was up, but I haven't listened to it yet.
No, I haven't either.
So I do have to listen to that at some point. How poetic would it be, though, if we came into Mandalorian Season 2 and Bryan Cranston became a character?
Even if he was in a stormtrooper costume would be great.
Even if he was in a stormtrooper costume. I mean, come on. Tell me not everybody in the world would tune in and watch that episode.
They'd go nuts.
Of course they would. It would totally be a novelty. It would totally be a novelty.
Yeah.
But it would be a novelty, I think, that would get a lot of people excited.
Oh, yeah. I would
know
love
you'd
it.
be one of them. You would totally be one of them.
I would be.
All right, here. Six String writes, the Death Troopers had a very cool and powerful presence, but I'm disappointed that they were so disposable as all Imperial troopers are. They lack competence thoughts. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, they were fighting the Mandalorian. They were fighting an elite New Republic shock trooper, who was like, that's the Republic's version of a Death Trooper, and an elite programmed IG-11 droid. So I don't know that I'd go for. Remember, at the end of the day, the Death Troopers are still just human beings.
Oh, one of them almost bested Mando.
Yes.
Part of the battle. So it's not like they were totally just kicking their asses.
Yeah, they weren't jobbers by any stretch of the imagination. So I thought that was fine. But also remember, the Empire has been gone for years. Mm-hmm. I'm sure these guys are a little bit out of, even though they're under Moff Gideon and all that kind of stuff, it's not like it was in the old days, right. I don't think. So I think you got to expect a little bit less.
Yeah.
I think you got to expect a little bit less. Katon Toothman writes, so all Yodas have force powers. How does that work? I don't know. We've only ever seen 3 of Yoda's species before. We've only ever seen 3. But I mean, we've had lots of force-using human characters. So we've only ever seen 3 of Yoda's species. And there hasn't been one in a long time. There was Yoda, there was Yaddle, and now we've got this baby Yoda. So I don't know that the implication is that every member of Yoda's species are Force users. I don't know if that's the implication. If we come across 25 of Yoda's species and all 25 have Force powers, then we can start to draw that implication. I'm not ready to go there on 3. Mm-hmm. I'm just not ready to go there on 3. Not yet. All right. And Keto to the most right, and there's a whole planet of them. Again, that's why I'm not. If he starts coming across some others and they all have force powers, well, then we have to start considering it. AJ Lancaster, you guys, I really got to try to wrap this up here. AJ Lancaster writes, IG-11 was almost like a love letter from its creator. If he had said, I have spoken before, that would have been so good. Before walking out to self-destruct, I would have gone from tears welling up to straight up crying.
Yeah.
AJ, you just came up with a way that Taika could have made the episode even better, brother.
Quill.
He goes, I must now self-destruct. I have spoken. Oh!
I'm already getting teary just thinking about it.
Oh, and
Quill.
That ending of episode 7,
I know.
You could hear everybody across the world going, no!
Well, I was
when Quill died.
I had to ask him, is he really dead?
Yeah, he was really dead.
And now he's really dead.
He has been exterminated or terminated or whatever he called him. But I think, AJ, you just came up with a way that would have made a great ending even better. Matt Hansen writes, absolutely loved this series. It was something I've been waiting for a while now. The episode was so many Easter eggs and references. Death Watch, the Darksaber, and Cara Dune's homeworld. I loved it. They packed a lot, but they packed it in a great way. Whereas if you missed the reference, doesn't matter, didn't affect the overall enjoyment. If you caught it, it just added that little bit of extra spice to it. Mm-hmm. I just thought every second of this thing you had to pay attention to, Like even some of the better episodes, they have like a minute stretch here and there where I just felt like this one was completely packed.
Oh, no, I agree. I think the pace of it was perfect. By the time we got to 2/3 of it and you had paused to see how much was left, I couldn't believe we were almost done with the episode.
And almost done with the season.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. It was packed with a lot of stuff, Matt. RJ Technovine writes, Mando can trust droids again thanks to IG-11. Again, I don't know if a lifetime of trauma is overdone by just one thing, but I won't be surprised if we see that plays into it next season. Alex Von Gollum writes, hey, Gio and Ann, my favorite part of the episode is Mando's character's transformation, like when he pleads IG not to sacrifice, an adrenaline-pumping chapter. And again, that's one of the reasons why I didn't like episode 5. There was no character evolution. In every one of the episodes, there was something about the Mandalorian where his character evolves just a little bit. Mm-hmm. And either through choice or through circumstances. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was definitely a good point for that. And that was an important thing. I don't know if that was something that registered with you, but like how did that, like the evolution of the character, did that ever stand out to you while you're watching the show?
Oh, yeah. No, exactly what you said. I think if they weren't progressing, then the episode was a throwaway. And there was really only the one, maybe 2.
Yeah.
I suggest 2, but... You don't agree with me?
The prison ship one.
Yes.
Yeah. Matt Hansen writes, seeing as Dave kind of thinks Ahsoka as a daughter, that's fucked up, dude. Hey, tell him that, not me. I'm not the one doing it. It's him. All right. Reed Necromancer by William Gibson writes, prediction, going to Yoda's home planet is a red herring. It's the rainbow's end pot of gold that never is reached. The ending will still be a conclusion, but for an arc we haven't begun yet. I agree. I don't think we're going to, that's why somebody said, oh, next episode, the next season we're going to get there. I don't think that we will. I really don't. I think it's going to become something that they continue to look for, but I don't think it's something they're ever going to do. I'm not going to say ever, but I don't think we're going to get to Yoda's homeworld in season 2. I don't think, maybe eventually, but not in season 2. And if you had to guess, what percentage do you think that Mando finds Yoda and Baby Yoda's homeworld?
0%.
Zero. Like none.
I hope they don't touch it at all.
I agree, but I think there's like maybe a 10% chance they do, but which is extremely unlikely. I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
What about eventually? Like
No.
if they do season 3, really, you don't think they'll ever get there?
I would love it if they didn't.
All right. Okay. Next, Reed Necromancer also writes, prediction number 2, Mando will be on a random planet on some mission. He will cross paths with a Jedi in exile / hiding who knew Yoda and recognizes the child. This will be the start of a greater storyline. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As long as it's a Jedi we don't know.
Right.
As long as it's a Jedi we don't know. It's somebody like Cal in Jedi Fallen Order. Like a Padawan or something that escaped the purge and was there. I wouldn't be against it. Again, I don't think they're going to bring Jedi into it, but it's not a bad idea.
Right.
It's not a bad. Would you be down for that, or what would you
I
think of that?
I think that's fine. I think it's not introducing someone that we know, like you said, and trying to make all these connections that we don't need. But it's just enough to say, hey, the world is small enough that you would know of somebody, or you would have perhaps met somebody. Yeah.
All right. Next one up. Jedi Johnson writes, if not Yoda planet, maybe Kamino? I don't think so. I mean, look, the one Doctor, I think it was more of an as a wink of a quick wink Easter egg that the Doctor had a Kamino like emblem, but I don't think we're going to go there. Jose Uloa writes, with Baby Yoda now being a foundling and Mando now his quote-unquote trainer, would this mean a Yoda in tiny Mandalorian armor ahead?
Yes.
No. No.
Please.
The kid's too young. Remember, the boss said that, right? The child is far too young. It's just, no. The child's got to come of age, and then they can start training him.
Okay, teenage Yoda is what, like 150 years old?
Would be like 150, I guess.
So
I don't know.
We're almost there.
So we got a little ways to go, but I don't think they're going to do that. But boy, apparently Anne really wants to see that. Brian Saladino writes, use this show as a hook to draw more people into the animated Star Wars world. New Clone Wars coming. Yeah, I'm not excited about the new Clone. I've never been a big Clone Wars fan. No, I don't think it's terrible. I've never been a Clone Wars fan, but it could be something that does that. It could be something that does that. I mean, you got to keep your eyes open for that, especially with the way they handled the lore here. Benjamin Burnside writes, I love the moment where Baby Yoda waved at Carl Weathers. He seemed to make everything that he is involved in better. As a diehard Rocky fan, icon, #icon. Also, it's remarkable how good Gina Carano was in terms of acting in the finale, given her lack of practice. You listen, Gina Carano is somebody who has never been that good of an actress. But I've always been a fan of her at the same time, but not that good of an actress. But she has clearly continued to work on being an actress.
Yeah.
Because episode 4 was probably the best performance on screen she's ever given. And then that just got better in episode 7, which was even a better performance. She has come so far. She has come so far. And it's really good because I think she's finally ready to start appearing in more things. It seems like she's, I don't know, do you agree, or what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, both of us are aware of her because of MMA. So the fact that she's even on screen as an actress is amazing. I think there's awareness that wasn't apparent with her before, like awareness of what type of character that she could play well. And I think this one is the perfect type of character for her to be.
Yeah, and now that she's comfortable, she might be able to expand beyond that a little bit. So it was good to see. All right, last couple of questions, guys. Piz writes, What are your odds Baby Yoda makes it to Star Wars 10 with Rey, Finn, Poe? 0.
0.
Yeah, 0. I don't see them ever crossing this stuff over, so pretty much 0. Anthony R. also writes, final question of the night, guys. The Empire ruled for 23 years. Palpatine probably forbade citizens from mentioning Jedi and the Force. He also kept their relics and holocrons. I understand that. I understand that. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 23 years is nothing. People would remember. I mean, it wouldn't become, oh, what was that a real thing?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I've had that same conversation, Anthony. I've made that point myself in trying to talk myself into making it make sense. Well, they forbade anybody ever speaking about it and probably try to erase as much evidence of their existence off the face of the earth and blah, blah, blah. But it just doesn't make sense. It's just in a galaxy where Jedi were the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, not for a week, not for a few years, but for thousands of years, for thousands of generations. Jedi were the guardians of peace. That doesn't just disappear in 23 years. Mm-hmm. It doesn't just disappear in 23 years. So I get it. I try to rectify it myself too, but it's just an inconsistency. All right, guys, that'll do it for this open spoiler discussion about the season finale of The Mandalorian. I had a really good time with it. I thought they stuck the landing, they ended strong, wrapped it up in a satisfying way while opening it up to making us really excited for next season. Gideon's got the Darksaber, which is crazy to me. Anyway, and thank you so much for doing this with me, honey. Where can people find you online on your multiple Instagram accounts now? You can follow me at Ann Campea, but you can also follow my new Instagram account, which I'll be posting cosplay-only photos and cosplays. And, of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter. And, again, I highly recommend go over to my Twitter right now and look at the top post of this guitarist who solo plays the Mandalorian theme. It's beautiful. Go and check that out. All right, guys, that will do it for Ann and I right now. Thank you so much for being here, guys. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.